It is working. Okay, good. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Fireside chat. I am Preeya Naul. I'm Vice President of Streaming Partnerships at VideoElephant. Today, we're very fortunate to be joined by one of the leading voices in the FAST space. Please welcome Josh Rosenblatt, Head of Strategic Partnerships at Plex. Josh has over 20 years of experience in digital media and entertainment. He manages Plex's 300-plus publishers globally, working across content acquisition, strategy, and business development on AVOD, FAST, and transactional. Josh, it's great to have you here.
Great to be here. Nice to see you and to see everyone, and I guess start off the OTT.X conference. Yeah.
So to kick things off, let's start with a question that's certainly at the forefront of my mind. Now, VideoElephant already has carriage on Plex with 2 of our owned and operated channels. However, through our managed service, we're increasingly working with content producers and content owners to take them to market to launch their channels. And I guess the sort of question that's at the forefront of my mind in relation to this business that we're now operating is what factors you consider when evaluating a channel for carriage on your platform?
Sure. So I think it's important to take in the context of where we are today, which is a pretty mature market in the U.S. And Canada to a certain extent. So Plex already has a robust catalog of AVOD and over 600 fast channels, and we're continuing to grow it and expand with really high quality content. So we're really looking for content that's going to do well for us and for our users, and simplistically, it's with that approach, right? We want to bring on content that is going to succeed, right? And there are a lot of things that we've seen in historical measures and with channels we have that helps us kind of guide those decisions, and some certain things like known IP, nostalgic content, things like that, that help make certain decisions. And then there's different categories that perform well for us that we can lean into, and finding new niches that are kind of underserved that have a distinct audience, and those types of things really impact our decisions.
Can I ask a question around your process? If you don't want to answer, that's fine. But what is the process like at your end in terms of, is there a scoring matrix? Do you sit down every 2 weeks or once a month? How does it work if you're able to divulge some?
So there's no formal scoring matrix, right? We keep a list, right? So that we just keep track of everything that's gone on and that comes across our desk. There's a lot of fast channels that have come across, and some succeed, some fail, some we take, some we don't. So we try to keep track of everything because there's a lot going on and a lot of moving pieces. In the end, it's a pretty small group that makes the decision, and some channels the decision's pretty easy, right? Because everyone believes it's going to kill, right? It's going to do really well. And in other situations, there are passes for the time being. Certain things we just don't think work because of the nature of the content and something that we're not interested in. Others, we just don't think it'll pop in the UI, et cetera. So it's not an extremely formal process, but it's one that we try to be really respectful in managing kind of folks that come to us and bring us content, so that we want to see the updates. We want even if we say no to a channel, we want to hear back about that channel in 6 months or a year to see how it's progressed.
Great. Yeah, that's really interesting to know. I know I've got a channel or 2 that's still on that list of yours in rotation somewhere. So we've got 2 with you. We'll take that, but hopefully in the future that will increase. And then I wanted to ask around, I suppose, channels looking to get carriage with Plex. What would you say sort of sets Plex apart from the sort of competition and other streaming platforms?
So we see ourselves as more of a technology service that's in the AVOD and FAST business. So we also see ourselves as being one of many services, whether subscription or otherwise. So one of our mandates is to help people find and enjoy content and share them with their friends, right? So that means a lot of the, the tooling and the makeup of our service is in support of content that we might not even have, right? So we have a Discover service that allows users to search and find content across all other services, right? If it's a show that you're interested in on Disney, you can find it on Plex, and we'll deep link you to Disney for that. We have a watch list that allows you to kind of manage all of a user's movies and shows that they're interested in. And then we recently launched a social component called Discover Together, and through that, you can share what you're watching with your friends and your family, and it adds a really cool component to just searching and discovering content and enjoying content to have your friends and family to be able to kind of connect with them.
And is that through the TV itself, or is that actually through an app that you're using alongside watching on the TV?
It's through the same video app, the same Plex app. So it's available on the mobile and all of the CTV apps as well. And I think it's one of those things where a lot of the usage will likely come on phones, right? As people are searching for things and sharing things. And if you ever wanted to review something, you're probably going to do that on your phone. But if you are searching on Samsung or Vizio or any of the other TVs, you'll also see your friends' reviews, or which of your friends are watching a certain show, et cetera.
Great. I think that's really exciting, actually. I think that's, I think it's just forward thinking. It's kind of where more streaming platforms need to get to. So it's nice to see that there's a social integration, and I think the community piece as well around sort of friends and family. And we all want to see reviews, and we watch what others watch, right? It's all recommendation based. So in terms of like a channel partner, what sort of resources and tools does Plex offer to channel partners to really be successful on the platform?
Okay, so we have the standard slate of marketing materials and tactics that you would find on most platforms. So email, push, social, those types of things. We run house ads across AVOD and FAST, so partners can take advantage by submitting spots to run across Plex on unsold inventory, et cetera. One thing we treat maybe uniquely is on the data side. We're very open and transparent with usage and metrics. So our data portal is more advanced and provides more details than probably most other partners. Other things on house ads, we can connect an ad for a movie to our watch list. So if we run an ad, we can add a button that says add to your watch list, which can be really helpful, especially for new release movies. If you're running an ad on Plex to be able to add it to your watch list, those who have a movie on their watch list are, the likelihood of watching it is, considerably higher. So it's a cool tactic that we have as well.
Yeah, and how does your, when I'm thinking about sort of, tools or resources that you might offer, what about things like promotion, whether it's sort of organic versus paid? How much organic promotion could a new channel launch expect to get on the platform?
It's a great question. Since we've started, we've done mostly organic, right? So the marketing you see, the positioning you see on platform is generally based on performance, what we think works the best, or will get the most usage, et cetera. We do have paid options, et cetera, to either run spots or different things in the UI. And we're just we're a little early in that space as far as building out kind of all of those tools. So as of right now, it's primarily based on organic and how we find a way to just pull out the best shows, channels to feature inside the guide.
So that was going to be my build-on question, which is how are you deciding which ones to organically promote? Is it based on performance and audiences, or is there a fair rotation that everyone gets a shot at the top, or somewhere?
I don't know if I can say fair. It's hard to be fair, right? But we want it to be fair in general. But no, I think there's a couple of things. We want to put things into featured, and we want to see them rise, right? So there are certain channels that, and content that really respond to being featured, and other channels that don't. And that doesn't mean they don't perform. We have certain channels, whether we feature them or we don't, they still do really well, right? Certain people find them, there's a pull to them somehow. So in general, we're looking to, roll in the channels that we feel are going to do the most and get the most mileage out of it. And when we launch a new channel, there's definitely an opportunity to, to do more promotion, to introduce it to users. So I think there's, on our end, there's a desire for every new channel we launch to have a minimum level of promotion so that so the users kind of know that it exists and they can find it. And then, steady state, it's about promoting, what we see as kind of the most exciting content that's on the platform at the moment, right? Some channels have different content throughout the season, right? Whether it's seasonal or it's just a great new show that they're doing a takeover of a channel, right? So we'll notice that, oh, AMC has the latest breaking. We'll have a Breaking Bad, right, as a marathon on Stories by AMC. That's a big deal, right? So bring that to the fore, other things like that.
Yeah, and I think that's very similar to how we would work with your teams. It's kind of what are the monthly, what's the plan ahead, what are the tentpole events, the editorial calendar, the stunts, marathons, and I think we work very well with you guys on that front actually. So that's quite exciting. And aside from that piece, I guess it sort of does all wrap into content discovery, if you like. Is there anything else on the platform that really drives content discovery to continue to basically drive performance of channels? And I'm sort of thinking, you talked a bit around maybe the social piece that's built in. You've talked a bit to organic sort of promotion. Is there anything else that you're doing from a technology perspective maybe that supports content discovery?
So it's a big topic for us, and I think we're, as a market and as a company, we're not all the way there, right? I think there's a lot of growth that we need to do to manage the content we have today, the channels we have today, and the growth we expect. I think one of the cool things that we do today, and that we can still improve upon it, but in the fast world, right, a lot of the challenge is there's potentially a fast brand, right, which users may or may not know, and then there's the content behind it, right? And our app has gotten better and better at being able to represent the content within the fast channel, right? And to be able to bring out what's playing on, the VideoElephant channels versus just, a single brand that may not have as much resonance with the user. So I think those types of elements have been really helpful, and it allows us to more easily promote what's on at the moment. I think it's still, to a certain degree, a work in progress to be able to bring out the best content for the best user at the right time, right? I think that, the personalization of that and the algorithms that are built around it are going to develop so that when you go into the app, you'll see, really the best stuff for you at that moment. At this point, it's, it's gotten, wavelengths better than it was a year ago, but it still has a lot of development to go.
Yeah, and I think that's true to say for the market, actually. I think, I think discovery, recommendation, let's not talk about monetization, but, I think those are the things that we need to unpick as an industry. I know that we've got a very short slot, and I don't know where we are time-wise, but I do have two more questions. So I wanted to get your advice. What would you advise channel owners who are seeking carriage on Plex? What would your advice be to them if they're really trying to get carriage and they're a producer of content?
So I think read the market, right? There's we're one among many platforms out there that are all trying to do similar things to build services to make them successful. I think the reality is that it's not easy in the market today, right? There's a lot going on, and a lot of the big players are out there, right, that are making it more competitive for smaller and more independent programmers. So I think the ability to find niches that are underserved and haven't been targeted, that it still exists. Like, it's hard to believe, but it definitely happens all the time where we find, someone brings us a channel that we hadn't thought of, that's we think is significant enough to, to potentially give it a go. So I think it's, being really sensitive to what's going on in the market, and then also, listening to the feedback they get from us and from other partners as to kind of what makes sense. I think there's certain channels that that come to us and then succeed. There's some that come and we say no, and then they pivot and they change, right? It might be a show that someone wanted to do a single IP that the market didn't really like, right? And then it ends up being a licensed piece of other channels. So I think the combination and recombining of content into channels, et cetera, that's going to happen for a long time. So I think there's the ability to read the market and be flexible, I think is really helpful, and is stay in contact with us. We want to have that dialogue, right?
Great. Awesome, thank you. And then the final question that I really wanted to ask is, I talked a little bit just at the start about how, we're operating a managed service for channel owners. And this actually involves, businesses that have got a lot of content that are looking to enter the FAST space, but also existing channels that are saying, well, actually, you know what, we'd like to outsource it, or we need some support with scheduling, or we'd like somebody to really run and operate the whole channel. And so what would your advice be to, say, an existing channel, because we're speaking to lots of these, that have maybe been on FAST for maybe 3 or 5 years, and they're saying, look, I'm really feeling the impact of competition, right, the squeeze, and I'm not getting as much revenue as I used to. I'm not making as much as I used to. There's, the effort that's required versus the return is it's not entirely there. So what would your advice be to channels on your platform that are feeling the impact of competition, I guess?
So it's a good question.
Other than do better.
Well, I think the reality is that, for content to get added to the platform, channels to be added, we need to grow significantly for everyone to continue to grow, right?
Right.
If we're not growing, then it's hard to add channels and not expect some segment to go down. I think the reality is that certain channels are going to have an ebb and flow, right? Even if they're great IP, right? You launch something in 2021, and in 2024, it's been out for 3 years. It's available in lots of places. I think there needs to be some expectation that content is going to have a lifespan, and that doesn't mean it's no longer valid. It just means that if you avail something for a long time, it can the exposure can have impact. We've seen the reverse, right, where some content is not available generally, right, and then it becomes available. And there's an enormous spike because people are so excited that, oh my gosh, this great show is available, and it has been available for for 5 years or whatever it is, right? Those things are amazing, right? And we love benefiting when they happen. But I do think there's a reality that single IP channels are going to have periods of time where they may have slower adaptation rates, but I think hopefully there's ways to find ways to augment the scheduling, right? Yeah. Whether it's by modifying the programming into different, whether it's either marathons or new programming. We see with shows that are kind of still active, whenever you can add new content to it, it has a huge impact, right? So I think there's a lot of things where if you just set it and forget it, maybe it worked for the first couple of years. Sure. That doesn't always work, right? You have to reimagine things periodically to make sure that they're doing as good as possible. Yeah, and that's super insightful, I think, as well for a business like ours. The channel is one thing, and saying, do I want the channel to be successful is something, but I think actually within that, we're talking about the programming, right? To your point, it's that programming that comes on in there that really is the piece that gets, potentially promotion from an organic perspective that needs to be continually honed, that drives audiences. So wonderful. Josh, thank you so much. It was wonderful to catch up with you this morning. I think that is all we have time for. I don't know that we normally do questions, but if that's acceptable, would you like to accept a question or two? If we have time, sure. Maybe we don't. Maybe the questions, isn't it? No? Okay. Well, oh, there we go. Oh, hi, Colin. It's a fantastic question.
I don't know if everyone heard the question, but Colin asked what the incremental cost to Plex is each time they add a channel.
So internally, folks ask that same question to us, right? Because they're like, okay, well, why don't you just add all of them, right? And there are times when internal team members are like, okay, yeah, this person came to me, there's a channel, and we pass on it, and they're like, well, why, right? So there is an internal cost of monitoring, managing, streaming the channels, right? And I can't really go into that, right? And it's not something that I'm, particularly close to, right? But for us, the cost is more, I'll call it opportunity cost, I guess, right? We want to have a lineup that's as good as possible, right? We want to have only channels that are really, really strong, right? That people have great experiences with. And, to this point, we've been pretty liberal with adding channels, right? We have a large list of channels, and we've been pretty aggressive. But, we really want every channel to be kick-ass. So that's the bigger thing from my perspective. It's less about whether it's, the fees on the operational side, et cetera. It's more about the, the overall experience to the user and making sure that the EPG, the guide, is as good as possible. And also, if we don't think the channel is going to do well, then that's not going to be a happy channel either, right? So if that, if we're right, and we're not always, but if we, if we're our feelings are correct on it, then in the end, it's probably not a bad move for both sides.
Wonderful. Before the music starts to fade in, we should wrap it up. Josh, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.